Welcome to a playthrough of Panzer. I'm going to be playing a solo version of one of the scenarios in the fourth expansion, Panzer, the German invasion of France, 1940. In this, I'm going to convert one of the scenarios to a solo rules that are part of the fourth expansion and use that as part of the game. This should be pretty interesting. I played the solo rules quite a bit and figure I've got a good idea on what's going on with it to be able to convert some of the other scenarios to this. And I've done this for others without videos in both MBT and Panzer with some others. In this one, I will be converting a particular scenario here to a solo version. That scenario is actually scenario 37, pictured here. Now, scenario 37 is one that actually has the Germans attacking a French position, as noted in the description here, in Belgium during the initial parts of the invasion of the Low Countries and of France. They will be attacking remnants of a French division, and a German Panzer group will be attacking and leading the attack. This will be an interesting scenario to convert because, one, it's a defensive scenario for the French, so those are a little bit easier to convert than a meeting engagement or anything where the opposing player, the enemy player, will be attacking. So the defensive position will be much easier to adjust for on this, as I've seen already. Now, this is a very simple scenario, just two boards, small amount of units, which be showing here in a minute, relatively short amount of time, 23 turns, which I'll be adjusting here as well to be variable length in the end. The scenario victory conditions will be fairly straightforward, basically loss of units, victory points for them, plus exiting German units off the French edge of the board, as you can see in the scenario description here. Either Germans get them off or they don't, and victory points will be awarded that way. So that will be the scenario. Now, in terms of the units that will be used, here is an image of the German units. One, there's a German Panzer company with Panzer IIs and Panzer IV's that will be attacking. There's a good bit of them there as well. We'll also have the capability of using air power, Heinkel biplane that will be used. Not as great a firepower as the Stuka, but still can be useful in some situations. Then we'll also be having a Panzer Grenadier company that will be mounted on half tracks. A little bit of a bonus for the Germans, given that most units did not have half tracks, so usually coming over in trucks or something like that. So that'll be good, and they'll have some firepower between the machine guns and the 251-10s, which had the 37mm guns on there as well. There's some mortar-mounted half tracks as part of support weapons, as well as an HMG and a anti-tank rifle. There's a forward observer that'll be able to observe for not only the mortars that are in the half tracks, but will be able to observe for the Heinkel that will be attacking. We'll also note that there will have some low visibility to start. This is actually a early morning assault, so there'll be some limiting factors for spotting in the first 10 turns, and that will hinder a little bit of the German advance, as well as the French being able to see and attack the units. Then we have for the French, their units, they have two sets of units, which this is good first point that's going to change. I'm going to change this up so these will be a little bit more random, much like what you'd have in the the solo scenarios. So we've got some HE-35s, we've got some S-35s, and we have some anti-tank guns. 47 millimeter French anti-tank guns will be the basic units. Also, there's a chance a couple of recon units will make an appearance there as well. But those will all be random per each discovery of potential locations of units that's on the board. So that's a little bit about the scenario and the way it's going to be. Let me switch over and show you the actual board. Okay, here we are at the board. And here are their two maps. I'm actually using Vassal to play this just for ease of recording and manipulation while I convert this over to the solo environment. So with the maps laid out here, you'll also notice that on the maps themselves, you'll see there's numbered chits all around here. These are our potential enemies' hexes, where we'll encounter the French. We'll be playing as the Germans, so we will be controlling, and those will be the friendly units as we go through this. The enemy units will be the French. And they'll be located in these hexes, and we'll have to discover what's there. There may be something, there may be nothing. We don't know as we go through this. And you'll notice they're pretty much situated in terrain that's limiting, meaning that they're going to be tougher to see. We won't see them right away, and particularly with our limiting visibility on the first couple of turns, this will slow us down a little bit from seeing who's there and giving them a potential shot at us first. So we'll have to be careful coming in. I've already started playtesting this a little bit and working through some of the scenario and seeing what works, what doesn't work, adjusting some of these locations here. This is my latest incarnation. This test I'm actually going to do. We're actually going to start having those units that I was showing you before come in over on this side over here and try to attack down the road. I've tried up the center and up here already to kind of tweak out these sides of the board. Next I want to try actually coming up the road, attacking into the town and trying to get off over here. So a couple things to note on here for the Germans. This is the German side noted by the German crosses over here on this side. This is the French side over here, showing us where the French are. And then over here, let me just zoom in on this a little bit. You can see there is victory markers over here. That indicates that the Germans have the potential of getting victory points if they get off the board on that side. So that's a little bit about the board and where the units are set up to come in. The units themselves, as I showed you on the scenario before, we also have them set up over here as well. I've got them all marked out. We've got our Panzer company and then our Panzer Grenadier company all set up and marked accordingly for the battle. And then I also have the French set up over here as well as the Allies, just basically the number of units that will potentially appear on here. Now one little difference I do with these scenarios is that when I convert them, I use the actual number of units that were on there. It's not unlimited for the French to be able to just get units randomly. These will, once these units are all placed on the board and used on the board, that will be it for reinforcements. Everything else will be blank units or spaces. This should work out quite well because I have a number of spaces here that should mathematically equal the number of units that are there. So this should give us a wide variety, and in the end should get all the units on there. And again, in my other play tests, I have seen that work out in here. So when I've attacked here in the center and in the bottom edge, it has worked out well where most, if not all, the units did come on, in that time frame and in the spaces allocated. So it does work out pretty well so far. I have to test this side. This is what I'm a little bit more worried about because there is a little bit more units over here, potential units over here. I'm going to have to see how they work out on here, because in theory, an attack up the top side of the board over here should uncover most of the units down all the way to the woods in the middle of the board. Maybe a few of these, depending upon how things go, but it should uncover all of these, and it should just be these that may not get uncovered during the time frame. So we'll see how it goes. One other thing, there's a marker here in the middle, that 3, that is the visibility modifier. I'll flip that over in the appropriate turns. That's just a reminder to myself for that. So that's a little bit about the game and what we'll be playing. I will do a setup over here, and then I'll come back on. My setup might take me a little bit of time, but to you it's going to be instantaneous, and you'll be able to see the units there, and we'll start off getting them moving over here and seeing what happens. It should be pretty interesting because over in here, you know, it's going to be in the corner here where there's a number of units that are able to shoot across here. So the French, you know, this unit can shoot down through about like that and cover, you know, all these hexes like that. This unit can cover over here. This unit can shoot, you know, up across like that. This has the potential of covering like that. He can shoot down here. Even this one, you know, will have an opportunity to come over here like this. So you can see there's a lot of potential for the French to do some damage to the German units as it comes across here. I won't tell you what happened over in these couple areas. Leave that for further discussion. But you know, you can see there's going to be quite a bit of action right away getting these two companies of units on the board. Hopefully I can keep them intact enough to, you know, be able to knock out any guns that happen to be in these positions, or you know, or not. And that would be good as well. I'd like to have some losses as well to show that it is kind of balanced, so that it is tough to use. Now, one thing I will say about the setup for the French units, as I said, will be random. The main unit for the French, if you've played any other solo games, the main unit for the French in this case is actually going to be the AT gun. Quite dangerous. The CA-47 SA-37 gun has a pretty good firepower on it. Let's just take a look at the card here just to give you a sense of what's there for it. So let me bring up the French, and we're going to go with the guns. And here we go. There's the CA-47. So you can see its firepower across point blank, short, and medium. You know, 9 hexes for 1940. That was pretty darn good. You can see for the penetration, 14, 12, 11. You will see once we get to the tanks that this will penetrate all the German tanks that are coming across there. So if they get a hit, there's a good chance that they will do some sort of damage. One saving grace for the Germans is the fact that the damage on them, you notice there's a 1 to 3 and a 4 to 6. That's either no damage or a damage marker, not a knockout. It's only 7 through 10. Basically, those 4 numbers that knocks them out. So there's only a 40% chance of a kill with this gun, but still pretty damaging if it hits you. So we'll have to see how that plays out with it. It does get interesting because it does have a quick rate of fire, which there is the opportunity to get multiple shots coming across here as well. So we'll see how it plays. But being the anti-tank gun up here in these hexes, or you know, any one of these hexes over here, that means they'll have a good shot at taking a hit. Also too, for spotting purposes, our spotting to see this guy is going to be much worse because they'll be treated like an infantry unit, and that means that they'll need to be much closer before they can actually get a good spot on them. It's not just a case of getting muzzle flash, it's a case of actually IDing the unit and you know, making sure they can do that. One of the saving graces for us, we do have some recon units. Part of our Panzer company is recon, so they'll get a bonus for spotting. So we'll have to use those judiciously to, be able to spot these guys so that we can bring up our tanks or bring up our mortars and knock them out as they go along. Now, also too, just because the main unit is a 47 millimeter gun does not necessarily mean that's what's there. That's what's going to take the first shot. Once we resolve that shot, then we'll figure out if they're spotted, and if they're spotted, then we'll figure out what unit's actually there. So it could turn out to be an S-35 or an H-35 out there instead. So that'll prove interesting, and it gives us some challenges in terms of being able to move up here and figure out what's going on. We're going to have to, watch very carefully getting on the boards, figuring out what units are going to be first, what units are going to be next, how to position support units to hopefully get some firepower on here, particularly the mortars, possibly the HMG, and make sure we get units with minimal amount of losses as we get along here. So it gets interesting because, like I said, with S-35s on here, they're going to be very powerful, and there's a chance we'll get, I think, 4 of them on the board here at some point. So they can do some damage here as well, and they're mobile because they have a 47 millimeter gun as well, same as the anti-tank gun, to potentially knock us out. So that's a little bit of a introduction to this. As I said before, I need to do the setup, so let me do that, and I will get back to you with turn 1 of this playthrough of solo conversion of Panzer's Fall of 1940 scenario.